I'm about to show you two prophecies that are perhaps among the most significant prophecies relating to Jesus as the Messiah, and neither of these individuals were followers of Jesus at the time they made those prophecies. One revealed Jesus' death just about a year before it happened, and the other revealed his name and his soon return nearly 2,000 years after his death. What's interesting to me is not only the eerily similar situations surrounding the men who made these prophecies, but also the implications and what it means for us today. The first prophecy was made by the evil Jewish leader Caiaphas. Most people don't realize that Caiaphas actually unwittingly prophesied the death of Jesus. Now, the Gospels tell us that some of the Pharisees, chief priests, and the Sanhedrin began to plan Jesus' death. They feared if they let Jesus continue unopposed, the people would believe in him and follow him, resulting in an uprising and an eventual Roman attack. Moreover, the Jews would be crushed. And you know what? This very thing happened in AD 70 with the destruction of the temple and Jerusalem. However, it didn't happen because of what Jesus taught or because people followed him. It happened, according to Jesus, because of the lack of faith of the Jews and their rejection of Jesus as the Messiah. So while planning Jesus' death, Caiaphas received a prophecy that read, "You know nothing at all, nor do you take into account that it is expedient for you that one man die for the people and that the whole nation not perish." Being the high priest, Caiaphas was given the prophecy by God due to his God-given office of preeminence. You see, whether he had a heart for God or not, his position made it possible for him to receive messages from God. But he was a Sadducee hardened by heresy, and he believed that it would be necessary for Jesus to be put to death in order for the nation of Israel to retain its economic conditions under the Roman government. And the truth is, his prophecy was in fact divine, according to the Apostle John, who writes, "He did not say this on his own, but since he was high priest for that year, he prophesied that Jesus was going to die for the nation, and not only for the nation, but also to gather into one the dispersed children of God." It's not surprising that God would speak through his enemy, considering God in the past had revealed divine truth through Balaam, a prophet more interested in gold than in God's people, and even through Nebuchadnezzar, a Babylonian king who worshipped many gods. Jesus truly did die as a substitute and a scapegoat, just as Caiaphas declared. However, Caiaphas was motivated by fear, and therefore wanted Jesus to die for the sake of maintaining power. But as we know in the scriptures, for example in Genesis, when Joseph, who is a type of Christ, he's speaking to the very brothers who tried to kill him, and he says, "As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today." So as you can see, God spoke through his enemy, and he informed them of Jesus' purpose here on earth. Now, fast forward 2,000 years later, another Jewish leader receives a prophecy, and it's truly amazing. In 2007, Israeli Today ran an article with the headline titled, "Rabbi Reveals the Name of the Messiah." Rabbi Yitzhak Kaduri. He was born in 1898 in Baghdad. He was a Sephardic Orthodox rabbi and Jewish mystic. As a Torah prodigy, Kaduri began his studies in Jewish mysticism while still in his teens, and he studied under the famous Rabbi Yosef Chaim of Baghdad. Later on in his life, in 1990, Rabbi Kaduri met with a famous rabbi named Menachem Mendel Schneerson. He was known as the Rebbe of Lubavitch. And while they were together, many words of blessing were spoken to Rabbi Kaduri. And among those words spoken by the Lubavitcher Rebbe was the blessing that Kaduri would not pass from this world until he met the Messiah. Now, about 13 years later, Rabbi Kaduri would indeed have a mystical vision. It was reported that in his vision, Kaduri spoke with the Messiah. And during this encounter, the Messiah revealed his name to Kaduri. Kaduri later noted to his disciples that the revealed name of the Messiah was hidden among his writings. Rabbi Kaduri died on January 26, 2006, at the age of 108. Then Kaduri's disciples came across a note written by Kaduri in which was encrypted the name of the Messiah. This note contained instructions saying that it was not to be opened until a year after Kaduri's passing. His funeral procession was one of the largest in attendance in modern-day Israel. During his life, thousands of people came and visited him to seek advice, consecrate amulets, or ask for blessings and healings of various diseases. His disciples even told of miracles. As a result, in his old age, he was increasingly asked about political topics. In fact, Kaduri was regarded as a prophet by his followers because he could also predict some events in the future. Now, a year after Kaduri passed away, his disciples opened the note and discovered the name that the Messiah had revealed to Kaduri. That name was Yehoshua, the Hebrew form of the Aramaic word Yeshua, or Jesus. Here's an English translation of the note done by an Orthodox rabbi. Quote, "Regarding the acronym of Messiah, the masses will themselves arise and verify that his words and his teachings can stand, with my signature in the month of mercy, Yitzhak Kaduri." The note's instructions basically said to take the first Hebrew letter of each of the words within the written phrase and put those letters together to form the name of the Messiah. The phrase in question is, "The masses will themselves arise and verify that his words and his teachings can stand." Taking the first Hebrew letter of each word, it spells Yehoshua. Although some deemed the note a forgery, others stated that it was indeed written by Kaduri. Now, it should be noted that most of the controversy surrounding the note had more to do with its implications of Jesus being the Messiah. Had it been any other name, perhaps there wouldn't be such an uproar. However, Israel Today maintains it spoke to two of Kaduri's closest followers, and each revealed that the note was in fact authentic and decoded appropriately to reveal that Jesus is indeed the Messiah.
I studied in the yeshiva of Rabbi Kaduri, who also believed in Yeshua. Because Yeshua is the Messiah.
And the note in question was one time posted on Rabbi Kaduri's website, his very own website. It is thought by some that due to the backlash and the potential for his legacy to be ruined among his followers, that his family took the note down and claimed it as a fake. Either way, when we look at Kaduri, he's very much different than Caiaphas. He did not seem to be motivated by power, greed, or anything like that. And we know from similar events in the Bible that those who seek God earnestly come to find him. For example, the conversion of Paul, when Jesus appeared to him and asked, "Why are you persecuting me?" Until then, Paul was a Pharisee, and he was a hardened Christian persecutor who was responsible for the killings of many Christians and destroying many families. Perhaps, too, Kaduri earnestly sought the true identity of the Messiah and was willing to disregard a lifetime of teachings that forbade the notion of a Messiah named Jesus. What's so fascinating to me is how God uses the most unlikely people to reveal his name, which is Jesus Christ. Caiaphas, Paul, and Kaduri, they were all Christ deniers and among the most respected Jews of their time, all of whom, it seems, received revelations from Jesus himself. I believe Kaduri's note is real, and there are plenty of reasons to see why the Jewish community would want to keep it a secret. I understand. Many of those reasons would have been the same as the Pharisees within the Sanhedrin 2,000 years ago. If Jesus is indeed the Messiah, then they would face a complete upheaval of their current situation. With many losing their esteemed and powerful positions, places of authority, it's a lot to take in and can easily see why somebody would either outwardly deny it or subconsciously avoid it. While Kaduri was on his deathbed, his brother David had something interesting to say. He said, and I quote, "My father is one of the Lamed Vav, righteous of every generation. He is capable of making his prayers heard up in heaven. If he is sick, it is a bad omen for the Jewish people. It means that the time has come to repent." Wow, could it be that Jesus is soon to arrive? Now, one final note. If history tells us that God speaks through unlikely people, including his enemies, perhaps we should be listening closer to those in power today, especially those who hate God or are pretenders. God can speak through them whether they know it or not. Let me give you an example. In the past few years, politicians of a certain left-leaning persuasion have been crying out that the world will end in 12 years. And then 10 years, and then now some are saying 8, with 2030 being the year that there's no turning back.
The world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change.
To avert the worst consequences of climate crisis. We have 9 years left.
We're going to pass the point of no return within the next 8 to 10 years.
Either these politicians or world leaders believe that the world will have irreversible damage from pollution, or they are manufacturing a crisis to gain more power and influence. My point is, what if God is speaking through them and they don't realize it? Perhaps the world as we know it will end just as they say. Caiaphas prophesied the death of Jesus. Paul declared his resurrection. Kaduri identified his name to the Jewish people so they would have no excuse Kaduri also prophesied that the Messiah would be coming soon, and maybe, just maybe, our current political leaders have given us a date, 2030. God bless.